Hello, and welcome to the Wade Borth Podcast. I'm your host, Wade Borth, and in every episode, my goal is to get you to think differently about how money works and ultimately to empower you to take control of your money and your personal financing system. The government wants you to reduce your taxes. Just think of Uncle Sam in that picture. He's pointing his finger at you. He says, I want you. But now put the tagline in there, I want you to reduce your taxes. When I say that to most people, I get a very blank stare. I'm like, really? Are you serious? Do you need to go to the hospital? But that's not the case. Let me explain what I'm getting at. Because if you understand the tax code, and I can say I don't completely understand the tax code, I have a tax professional that does that. But if you understand the thought and the behavior behind the government, let's take a look at really what they're trying to get you to do. They're trying to influence your behavior. And they're getting to influence your behavior by using your money to get you to do something they want. So it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, think about this from this standpoint. The U.S. tax law contains about 6,000 pages of text, right? And of those pages, 30 to 50 of them are telling us what is income. And that's what they tax on. The other 99% of the tax code is designed to save you money, which is just basically telling you what a deduction can be, how you can legally avoid paying taxes, because if you do certain things, the government will allow you to take a deduction. And it is your obligation to pay the least amount of tax as possible. Again, that's my take, is your obligation. You can pay more taxes if you want, but I find it seldom that people want to pay more taxes than they absolutely have to. Now, they're afraid they can get audited and different stuff, but again, if you understand or hire somebody, work with somebody that has a good, sound understanding of the tax code, these aren't things that are going to get you audited, or at least, in particular, but they're going to say, hey, you do X, and we're going to give you a reward for that, and that is that you can keep your own money. Again, it sounds a little weird. The government's allowing you to keep your own money, but that is exactly how the tax code works. And the reason why they do that is that they want to influence your behavior. You think about it from the standpoint of smoking. If you want to smoke, you have to pay additional taxes. But if you don't want to smoke, you don't have to pay those taxes. Think about housing. The government understands that we need housing in this country. We need people to have shelter. Because if we don't have shelter, people are going to be very upset with the current government, and they're going to run those people out of office. So what do? They say, hey, you invest in housing, you buy some rental properties, you buy property, you develop property, whatever it is, you get a quote-unquote tax break. Well, the tax break is you keeping your own money. But again, it's an influencing behavior. They want shelter for people, so therefore they're going to give that individual that understands the other 99% of the tax code, say, we're going to give you a tax break if you put up shelter and house people. You're going to get paid handsomely, but you have to invest. And so I hear it quite often as, oh, the rich get all the tax breaks. Well, that's because they hire people that understand the tax code, and they're looking for those opportunities to do the right thing, right? They're going to put up shelter, they're going to drill for oil or whatever it might be. And so by doing those big capital expenditures, the government wants them to do these things, and so therefore they're going to allow them to keep their own money. So another example is charitable donations. I make significant charitable donations. They understand that every charity that I work with, again, they don't understand me in particular, but they understand that charities that people work with are much better at distributing money than the government is. While they think they're very good at it, they're very inefficient. But you take a lot of charities that I donate to, they're much better. They're directly to the people that have the biggest impact on. And so I make a donation, a charitable donation to a charity, and then I can use that as a deduction. So again, we need to change our mindset around taxation and understanding the tax code and working with people that are willing to say, okay, let's find a way for you to pay less in taxes. And again, it's going to influence your behavior. You're going to have to do certain things to make that happen. So with that being said, a lot of other examples. For example, one of the things we use as Sage Wealth strategy, and I use in my practice, is that we use properly structured whole life insurance. And there's great tax benefits. Not that we're doing this for the tax benefit, but we're doing it because it's the right thing. It's a place to hold and store our money. And if we do it correctly, and this is what the banks have figured out, and this is what big businesses have figured out too, we do it correctly, we can store a lot of money there that never ever gets taxed again. And so why is that? Because the government wants certain behavior. They want a death benefit to go tax-free because they want people to be taken care of and not have to be dependent on the government to take care of them. I pass away, my wife gets a very large death benefit that's tax-free. And it's not because they're ultimately love the idea, it's just that now they know that she's not going to be dependent on the federal government, or a beneficiary of mine is not going to be dependent on the government to take care of them. So they're influencing behavior. Again, when we store our money there and we use it along the way, the same thing. We're using a properly structured life insurance policy using the infinite banking concept to say, hey, we're going to store money here. We're not going to pay taxes on the growth of that because it's properly structured. It's still life insurance. We can use it. We can borrow against it. And there's no taxation on those dollars. So I would encourage you to reach out to me or to my office and say, hey, what are some of the things that I can do? Help you to kind of expand your mind a little bit. What are some of the things that we can do to reduce our tax liability? What are some of the things that we can do that the government wants us to do? Help us recognize what these things are. And so then we can start looking and say, what is a plan that fits you? What is it that fits your values and that you can use to reduce your tax liability? Because it's a choice to pay the maximum tax. It's not necessarily that you have to. It's a choice because you're not taking all the deduction that the government wants you to do to influence your behavior to better society. So give us a call. Reach out to us. We'd love to have those conversations about what you're currently doing, what you can do better, and then let's start that conversation to at least expand your mind to accept this idea that the government wants you to reduce your tax liability. And then once you understand that, then you're like, hey, there's a whole other world out there that we can start participating in that we never understood because we've never asked the questions. We never expanded our minds past that. So again, I'd encourage you to reach out to us and give us a call, drop us an email. Love to have that conversation. If you're enjoying this podcast, or anyone else that might be interested, please be sure to hit the subscribe button and please leave a review. This will help this podcast reach and help more people by ranking higher in searches and ultimately help more people get out of financial bondage. And don't be afraid to share this podcast with your friends and family, as we can be easily found on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.